Suicide is a public health issue that affects people of all ages and backgrounds. If you or someone you know is struggling with suicidal thoughts, there is help for you today. That number is 988 Suicide Watch Hotline, available 24 hours a day, spoken in English and Spanish. Today, we have a very candid conversation with a young man by the name of Ahmad Arnold, who talks about how suicide has impacted his life and his family's life. So let's sit back and relax as we talk about the journey of someone who's been impacted by suicide. Before, I was saying how to see you so poised, uh, so strong, um, it almost had me in tears as a man. Even now, talking to you, you don't look like anything that you've gone through or that you're currently going through in your personal life. So, if you would kind of tell the folks a little bit about this situation that you went through.
Um, well, firstly, I could start out by saying that the process to get into where I am now, it's been like a real struggle.
Mm-hmm.
You know, even reliving those days, like when they passed by, like this is what the second year
Okay.
since.
So this is 2 years
And
in.
yeah,
Mm.
when his birthday passed, knowing that it was the same day, a month later that he had passed, both of those days are really hard for me and have been really hard for me. Like sometimes um, I barely have enough like energy those days to go to school and get up and be like the person who everybody sees me as, because it's just a lot to it. It's the meaning behind it and the way that it happened, and it was so sudden. Like I remember everything that happened that day like it was yesterday. Like I remember waking up, going to school, having an entire conversation with him, asking him if he was okay that morning, because he seemed a little low, but and that's not something that you seen from him, honestly. Like
Mm.
everybody that I've ever met, including my siblings, other family members, family on my mom's side, have always said that he carried himself with a big level of pride and
Mm-hmm.
confidence. So
Sure.
you could see it every day and every time you talk to him. And in that moment, it just seemed like he was just empty almost.
Mm.
And I wish I would have went deeper and asking him how he was actually doing. But at the time, I'm only a freshman. I'm still trying to figure
Figure
out
out,
how
yeah.
high school is going.
Sure.
Like my mind is
You got
on
your own
bigger,
things
right.
going on.
My mind is
Mm-hmm.
on bigger things, in my opinion.
Sure.
So, I asked him if he was okay, and he said he was doing fine. And, got my stuff ready, and I went to school. And, you know, first period goes by, regular school day, just getting my work done, going to school, all that other stuff. And we get the second period, and like, I think 10:30. And it's rare for me to get called out of school anyways, because of the fact that he was big on being where you needed to be at all times. Like
Mm-hmm.
my attendance was perfect
I got
when
you.
I was with
Mm-hmm.
him. I missed like probably 2 days on
Mm-hmm.
average every year when I was living with him. And I went to the front office, and they said it was time for me to go home. And I was confused because I was like, this ain't right. Like, what's going on? And then uh,
So the
the
initial, so they didn't tell you at the beginning exactly what was wrong.
Yeah,
They just
I'm
said,
not sure that the school knew,
ah,
because our neighbor came to pick us up,
okay, understood.
but um yeah, I'm not really sure if they
If they
knew.
even knew.
Right.
Wow.
But our neighbors came to pick us up, and I also found that a sketchy, because he had his wife, she worked from home majority of the time. I think
Okay,
like
understood.
most of the time she was always at home. She had her own office in our house and everything.
But this
So
particular day, was she at home?
Um, she was at home when we were there. I'm not sure if she left for a certain amount of time,
Okay.
but like I said, usually when with her work, the way that she was working and stuff, she was usually always at home
Understood.
or not far from home.
Hmm.
So dad was really the one who was always out and about and on the other sides of Georgia and everything like that because he
Sure.
did real estate.
Sure.
So
Love it.
we were me and my brother, my older brother Krishad, we were in school and we got taken out of school and we got like we live like I remember exactly where we live. I could tell you how the neighborhood was. Like the school was like right down the street from our house.
Yeah.
And we got in the car with our neighbor. We were both looking at each other confused and she was like, I'll tell y'all what happened when we get back to the house or to the neighborhood or whatever. So,
You're still
both of
not
us
thinking.
right. It's not clicking
Yeah,
yet
it's
that
not clicking
something's
yet
like
at all.
really happened.
Right. Right.
And I remember pulling up to the house and our neighborhood is like a straight path through
Mhm.
it. And our neighbor's house is right beside us. And we pulled over at our neighbor's house and you could see right to our house because it's right beside each other. It's no gate or nothing. And you can see the driveway and the driveway is filled with two black thing Cadillacs, I believe. And that was what I could remember from it. And it was just a whole lot of people standing outside. I think like 5 to 6 people standing outside.
Sure.
Our stepmom at the time was nowhere to be found.
How did that make
And
you feel
at
first?
it was confusing
Mm.
because I didn't know where she was at.
Sure.
And I thought she would be at the house or somewhere near it, which she was in the end. But I just thought she would be like I would be able to see her
Understood.
because we're coming back to the house. So I'm
Mhm.
like, okay, if
Mhm.
something's happened, at least she'd be waiting for us somewhere.
Sure.
Which she was. She was in the other house across the street at our neighbor's house waiting for us. So we're sitting in the driveway looking at the cars and stuff. And like I said, it's still not really clicked for us because, we've never really had situations like in intermediate family where
Mhm.
people have passed away.
Sure.
Like, I
Sure.
feel like the most recent one was our grandfather, his dad,
Mhm.
but we never met his dad.
Understood.
We've seen pictures of him, we've heard about him vividly, but we've never had like a real interaction
I
with
understand
him
that.
before.
So by this time, you all are in Georgia full time with your dad.
Right. Like
Mm.
we were already like 4 years in of
Oh.
living there because we moved there in 5th grade.
Understood.
But we got there, got back to the house, and we're sitting in the car, and she turns around and she said, "This is not really easy to say right now,
Mm-hmm.
but your father, he's gone." And I just remember like looking at my brother and like our breath was taken away, and
Sure.
I remember the both of us breaking down and just sitting there crying, not knowing what to do, confused and
Like
just hurt.
emptiness.
Right.
Yeah. Mm.
Like it was the most randomest thing ever too.
Yeah.
And it just caught me by surprise. I was like, okay, like I didn't even really care about the way that he went out at the time. I was confused on the fact that like, why is it happening now? Like, I just seen him this morning. Like, what happened?
Yeah.
So
you wanted to know what was it that triggered
right
him to cause suicide,
right,
to inflict
which
pain on himself.
We didn't even find out until like I think the next day or the day after. But we ended up going back. Going across the street and going into the house, our other neighbor's house, and our stepmom was waiting there along with one of our aunts and our stepsister. And we took a moment to sit there and just, everybody sitting there still processing what just happened. And I remember just being there and everybody's crying. Our stepmom is crying. We're crying. We're still like actually waking up to the reality that he's gone.
That he's gone.
Like
right.
it's disbelief. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's almost, it feels like a dream almost.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And it's a really crazy coincidence.
What's that?
Because I remember having a conversation with my brother after the fact. And I remember him telling me that we had both, like, we had a whole conversation about it. And I was like, I had a dream that something like this happened. And
wow.
It was probably almost exactly identical to the dream. Like, I felt like the entire day up until that point was like deja vu.
Oh, like an
And
epiphany.
right.
Yeah.
So going into that, I feel like that made it even worse on me because, you know, I'm like,
You were there. It was like
right,
you were there.
right,
So you felt like in that moment, I could have saved my dad.
right.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
could have done something
You could
different.
have done something. Yeah.
And, I feel like for a time, and it still comes around every once in a while, but
Sure.
for the majority of the time, I blamed a lot of it on myself.
Mm.
Like I
Why?
felt really
Why did you do
guilty.
that?
We had this little time where it was right before our ninth grade year started,
Mhm.
and I feel like, in my opinion, like the relationships and the situation in the house, it wasn't healthy to me. Like, I often found myself stressed out and like being overworked, and sometimes I even felt like um my opinions really didn't matter when I was there, and it
Oh.
wasn't necessarily because of the fact that it was our dad. It was more so our stepmom.
Mm.
And I feel like she really, really took control in a lot of situations, and our dad allowed her to, in situations that she really had no voice in. She
Mm.
shouldn't have had any voice in.
Mm.
And knowing her for that long, I really feel like I had better expectations for her, and
Mm.
even going into that summer, like being so stressed out from eighth grade year, I was like, man, I really like, I remember I was in Carolina, and we were talking about like future type, with me and my mom having a conversation about me possibly coming back for college or anything like
Sure.
that. Like
Sure.
it was way, 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 way further past this. So I'm thinking, okay, maybe, some stuff happens and I may end up coming back to North Carolina for college myself.
Well, let
So
me ask you a question. Let me stop you right there. Have you had the opportunity to voice this to her at all?
to voice this to who?
To the stepmother at all? Have
Um,
you had the opportunity to even convey your emotions to her at all?
you
And do you think
know,
you will at some point?
the unfortunate part about it is I really feel like the relationship that we had was one sided. I feel like
Mm.
it was like some type of short contract. Like it
Mm.
was she would give us the unconditional love until the requirements were broken, which was the fact that she had our dad. And once he was gone, she disappeared. Um
Mm.
I think we blocked her. Me and my brother both took the initiative to block her,
Hmm.
just to give us some time to get away from that
Nothing wrong with that either.
and take some time off. And
Yeah.
I remember like 2 months into her being blocked, we didn't hear from her.
Mm.
She didn't text our mom. She didn't text us. She didn't text
Understood.
our aunt, which is our dad's sister,
Sure.
and they were really close. So seeing the way that she has she has been towards us since the day of,
Sure.
I've really I would say that I'm really unappreciative, and I feel like she took us for a fool almost,
Mm.
and she deceived us a little bit, not just us but even our father,
Mm.
because she promised us that no matter what happened to dad or anything like that, she was always going to be there for
Sure.
us as a step parent.
Hmm.
And she
So, in other words, that love that you was looking for after this was missing.
it was gone.
It was gone.
Right.
Mm.
um and I feel like, to me, that means that our dad kind of meant, like, she took him as a grain of salt as well, because
Mm.
you took somebody who was doing all this stuff for you, like pouring into you. Like, that house that we built for it wasn't only for him, it was mainly for the next generation of the
Mm.
people in our family, the
Mm-hmm.
Arnolds, to
Mm-hmm.
come and live in
Mm-hmm.
and be able to inherit. Like,
Yeah.
it was there to stay. So including her, because she has our last name now.
Sure, sure.
So her family would also be included to be able to live in our house
Sure, sure.
because it's ours.
It's ours, right.
But it was mainly for us.
Correct.
But seeing that she hasn't even checked up on us or tried to see how we're doing or sent any money our way since the day that it happened, that shows that, she took us for just, I don't know, like.
Well, let me ask you this. Let me be opposing. Let me give you a little opposition, a little pushback.
Right.
Do you think you'll ever find a way to forgive her so that you can move on? Do you think you will, or do you feel like it's a chapter in your life that you just want to close? Do you think you ever find it in your heart to forgive?
I think I'm slowly forgiving her.
Okay.
But I'm never gonna forget.
Okay.
Like,
I like that.
I forgive her for a lot of the things that happened while we were living with her.
Sure.
I feel like, from some things in her point of view, she probably was trying to be the best parent that she possibly could be.
Okay.
But at the same time, I do feel like there were some things that she did that were kind of unjustified. And, I feel like she took the power of having the role of a parent, even if she was just a step parent, and she took it and used it to her advantage to be able to be the alpha in our house. Because I feel like that's what she wanted. I feel like she didn't really just want to be the wife. I feel like she wanted to be the alpha. Like, she wanted to even be over our father, honestly.
Yeah, I'm gonna say this to you. For someone who has gone through therapy for many years and still in therapy today from past traumas, your ability to navigate this and talk about this, you possess a great deal of emotional intelligence. I gotta commend you on that, because a lot of people couldn't have this conversation. The one thing about, I'm going to give you credit on, so much credit on, man, is the power of transparency. In order to be transparent, there's some truth, and truth is always light. You know what I'm saying? So don't ever lose that. If I could give you anything, don't ever lose that. And then lastly, if you could say anything, because you said a lot, but I'm glad you were able to unpack that, because you probably needed to get it out a little bit more. You know what I'm saying?
Always.
Yeah, always, right? And that's good that you're able to unpack that. The more you unpack that, the healthier you're going to become too as an individual. But if you could speak to anyone who may be going through suicide or suicidal thoughts, or they've had an impact of suicide, or suicide has impacted their life or their family lives, what would you say to them? If you could say anything to them, what would you say to them to encourage them, to build them up?
I would say it's really not worth it. Like, it's really, in my opinion, it's really selfish. Like, thinking about the amount of people die every day. Like, even some of them don't make it out of the womb. Some of them, they don't make it past pregnancy. Some people, they barely make it past being an infant. A lot of them struggle with disabilities, diseases, all types of other things that makes our lives as humans, and we're not immortal. It makes our lives shorter. I feel like that is selfish, and I feel like you should avoid it at all costs. Like, I feel like you should find a happy place to be. To stay in. Get a better relationship with whoever you believe in, God, any type of,
I know what you mean.
Religions, anything like that. You should go closer in those religions, because life is a beautiful thing. It's not we don't live in the best world. It's not perfect, because we're human, but we live in a world that when you put the right tools around you,
Sure.
and you take the right path, you can live a beautiful life. And I feel like every minute, every second that you get to be able to say you're alive
Yeah.
and you're well,
Yeah.
you should take it like it means more than just, oh, I got to get up and do this.
Yeah.
And, I
Yeah.
got to get up and do that.
Yeah.
Like, I think you should take it as, like, I actually get to be able to walk on my own 2 feet. I can speak, I can see, I can hear.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people can't do that.
That's true. That's true.
And you know, you being unable to do those certain things will really show you that it will really show you that you're not it will really show you that you're not like subject to a lot of things.
Yeah.
Like a lot of things are not promised.
Yes.
Like
yes.
you know, having parents, it's not promised.
Yeah.
Like you see a lot of people, even myself, like I remember myself from before that happened, and I could say I was very entitled at that time. You know, I wasn't really, I mean, my grades were good, of course.
That actually was going to be my next question. How is it affecting you?
Right.
How you're dealing with it? And what are some of the things that you're doing to stay upbeat?
Right.
But go ahead. Go ahead.
You know, yeah, I remember like having conversations with my dad and even my mom, other family members about, you know, trying to turn a new leaf and stuff and be grateful because not everybody has this.
No, you got a great support.
Right. Has the support and has the family to be able to, you know, find happiness. And after he was gone, like it was a huge hole in my heart. And I still feel like that person that I used to be, I'll never be that person again because I feel like as much as I hated for it to happen, and I would have never wanted that to happen. Like out of all people that I could have lost or all things that I could have lost, like I would have never wanted to lose my father. But I feel like it was needed for not just me, my brother as well. Like I feel like we both needed that to show each other how thankful we need to be, how grateful we need to be, because life isn't granted to everybody.
That's a great perspective.
You don't get to live. Well, you don't get to live 100 years or something. Like the people that get to make it to 80, 90, that's a blessing. Yeah. So you should take it and you should be thankful for what you have.
I think it's beautiful that you were able to look at that from a different perspective too. To say, you know, maybe it needed to happen. You know, maybe it helped us grow and become a little bit better as individuals and to see the world differently. Sometimes God can take some of the most traumatic things that are sometimes hurtful, but they're the things that propel us into the next dimension, into that next it for us in our life as we continue to grow. Well, Mr. Arnold, this has totally been, I'm telling you, kind of caught me off guard a little bit with some of your answers, if I'm being honest with you. But the transparency was dope. I mean, I got goosebumps. I still got goosebumps, man, to know that you were able to convey that in such a powerful way. And the honesty, that raw honesty, I love it. And I know your future is going to be bright.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, man, you keep going. You got a great supporting cast. You got your sisters, you got your brother, you got mama. So you're going to be all right, man.
I still got dad, too.
Hey, that's right. That's what I was going to say. As you're sitting here, that was one of the things that came up. You're actually, whatever he taught you, is here, right here now. The strength that you have, the poise that you have, the way you're able to articulate these words properly. You didn't take your eyes off of me, man. You know what I'm saying? So the discipline that comes along with sitting down, having a conversation with somebody, is to be commended to you. And I just let you go. It was all about you, man. So thank you again for being vulnerable enough to have this conversation with me, man. And hopefully I can have more of this conversation with your other siblings too as well, because I think this is a conversation that
The whole family should
The
have a
whole family.
perspective. They have a whole perspective.
Everybody
from it.
has a perspective. So we're going to set that up where the entire family can come in, because I'm sure everybody has a take on suicide. So thank you again.
Thank you.
You're very welcome, Mr. Arnold. So listen, again, that number is 988. It's a hotline. It's 24 hours a day. I think you can have it in English and in Spanish. All right. Keep being great. This is the Ross Cloud Podcast. Peace. Man, great job, man. Sheesh.
Oh, that was a lot of talking.
Let me give you a hug, man.
But you love me anyway. But you love me anyway. A lot of times I'm so wrong, but you love me anyway. That's why you're mine. You can say that I'm flawed, I ain't perfect. Guns done a lot of dirt, been hurt, I might deserve it. Fighting through like gon' have my pains too. Diagnosed with cancer, prayed and fought through. Humbled all my crimes, gave it all to you. Crazy how I didn't know what to do. Fate gave me all the strength to push through. Understanding that it all starts with you. Fighting lately, nah, I ain't had no breaks. All praises up to you, yeah, I carry the weight. It's crazy how the world act like they don't see one of your greatest miracles when you save me. You know, I've been thinking a whole lot lately, and